Everybody, how are we doing today? I can't help laughing at myself every time I'm starting these. Almost always I say like, "Hello guys, hello everybody," like like there's a lot of people here in this chat room listening to me, but there's not a single person, and that's all right. What is that? Ah, you can put a filter and stuff. We don't need that. Yeah, it's kind of hilarious. Every time starting up this, like, there's a big group waiting, listening. It's not a single person. Well, yeah. Happy Easter, everybody. Hope you are all doing fine. And yeah, I just went to look in a few stores here in the town center. Oh, it's such a small town I live in. But what can I say? It's what I wanted. It's what I wanted, and it's what I got. So I'm pleased with it. I am absolutely pleased with it. I have nothing to complain about in regards to that. Just that, like, of course, people stare here. And now, to be honest, I'm not gonna give any any not gonna give a damn basically about just gonna go on about my day and talking to the phone like everybody else is doing. Like, so what? Damn, this is annoying. This microphone. Hang on. I'm gonna do this for a little while. Yeah, I think what I wanted to talk about, I will get to that soon, but because I will get a little bit more get a bit more private, I was gonna say. Just what I mean is get away a little bit from the noise and all that, you know. So just bear with me. A lot of old people here. That's what I was thinking when I think about Portugal. Also being a lot of old people there. But that's normal. The population is aging. Less, and it's funny I say that because I recently was watching a research say that there is less and less like millennials giving birth, and the population is a huge problem in this country, in the Western world in general. And yeah, you know, you can argue about this country in particular. It's been working so hard for an equality. You say egalitarian, something like this. I can't pronounce that. But been working so hard for an equal society between the genders. Feminist movement being so strong. In all honor, I think if you want to like focus a lot on your career, you want to become a strong, independent woman, as many of these women from these movements says. And that's all honor. It's awesome. It's great. Good for you. I think you should do that. But it has a result because of this equality ideology led to now, as we see, as this research says, more and more women are without a husband, because normally you know how it used to be. Traditionally, the man being the breadwinner in the household, and women just mostly, like generally speaking, taking care of necessities or chores, tasks, the children. Now we're having a change in the dynamic in this country. I mean, I can't express how much women in leading positions for governmental institutions and marketing agencies and private companies. There are so many women in high positions, which is just amazing. I think it's a result of something good, but it's going to have a result on something else, which is that women, they wanted to be strong and independent on their own, and now a lot of women in this Western in general, but here particularly, I believe, are complaining about, not necessarily complaining, but the result of them, or us. This is not only about women, but us as a species, I guess, having difficult to reproduce. The reproduction rate, childbirth rate is critically low. And yeah, I was just thinking about that when I see a lot of old people here in this town, and it reminds me of when I was living in Portugal. It was so many old people there also, and I think they have kind of the same problem there. A lot of the expenses of living is just staggeringly increasingly, and being just very difficult. Like, come on, imagine what could the average income be in Portugal? I should know. I've been researching this so much, but somebody told me it's like around $800-900. Let's say $1,000, and rent just for rooms being like 500-600. And now I'm talking the big cities, but you know, that's where most people are living. That's where most opportunities are. That's where most universities are. Who want to live in the rural Portugal? There's like no economy there. There's nothing happening. I'm gonna cross this street. I feel bothered by these steps coming up behind me. Really stressful. Over here is where I usually go to sauna. But yeah, that is one result of having but I kind of, and actually it leads me into another topic, but that I was mentioning I was gonna talk about earlier. But I mean, I am definitely for a society where there are equality as much as possible between the genders, if that's what you want, you know, if that's, you want to focus on having a career, and if you're qualified for being in a leading position or whatever, you know, definitely I'm for it. Whether you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter, as long as you get the job done. But I'm just think it's becoming a little bit too much sometimes when there are these groups or movements about people like, we are the sister, hi my sister, you see that on social media sometimes. Oh, my sister, we are strong, independent, we don't need men, stuff like that. Sounds very toxic. And I don't say that in any way to offend anybody. I just think we shouldn't see each other like that. But I understand in some societies there is definitely a place where equality needs to be increased. Think about Saudi Arabia, for instance. I think that is maybe just for show. Maybe it's becoming more egalitarian. I can't pronounce. I need to check this out. How you pronounce that? But more equal, if we use that word instead. I do believe it becoming more equal. Is it Riyadh? But let's say in the major cities, because they see how they can benefit from that. But I'm not sure actually that that is happening in the rural towns in, let's say, Iraq, Saudi Arabia. And it's so funny. I was remembering when I started my master's now in last year. I talked with one professor, and she was just looking at her. We had like a after after school, or we had like a meetup after a class, and everybody just had a beer. And she was there, and I could just see from looking at her that this is like some really probably like very left feminist university professor. And she asked me what did I write my thesis on. And I told her I wrote about the honor and shame phenomena, which is expressed, as we know, within culture of Middle East, North Africa, Central Asia. And she's then immediately she brought up that, yeah, isn't it but we have that here also. But I don't even know why she had to say that. When what she meant is that honor and shame is also expressed here in this country. And probably she meant other Western countries also, but I don't know. But she meant specifically in this country, because that's what she said, here. And I just told her something along the lines of, well, I was researching how it expresses itself in Sweden, but with people from this background, specifically in high school and PA class, and what are the reasons for that. And that was very great. That was a great research, actually. I really enjoyed it. But it's just funny how she immediately wanted to turn it like away from what actually my focus was on, and turning it into like that's something that we have here as I wanted to say natives, but that's the wrong word. It's as the majority society, I should say. And I guess depends how you want to view it. It's so fluid. This phenomenon is very fluid. But I guess we have. I mean, honor and shame is something that is expressed wherever you are, whatever culture you look at, you can find that there. Definitely. But the point was not that you can find it anywhere. It was particularly, in this case, people from Middle East, North Africa, Central Asia, where this view of women is very, very strict, where they don't give women right to vote, where they cover women up because of preserving their, essentially what it is, preserving their sexuality. And there may be people that are going to disagree with me immediately, but I know as a fact from studying this is to preserve her innocence. The kids, basically, they start down when they are kids, to preserve their innocence, to control who they are spending time with, control how they are using their finance, what are their social bands like between other kids or other families, is for not breaking that kind of innocence to put shame on the father and the family, and then in turn their family tree, because the family tree is built on basically trading women between other family trees as a means for resource to become a stronger tree, family tree with other families. And this, you can see how this stretches itself out very broad when you when you basically have a social state, if I can say that is built on those norms or those traditions. And that's, she wanted to put that into the context of here. I don't really agree with that, actually. But now I lost track of, yeah, now I remember. What I wanted to talk about, I just heard like a few days ago, there are so many things happening. I mean, you watch the news, obviously there's stuff happening all the time. But the funny thing is that, for example, this boat that like ran into the bridge in Baltimore and it collapsed. And immediately there start to be like speculations. Same thing with what happened in Moscow 1 week ago, whatever it was. The same thing with this guy that I basically had no idea who it is. This guy named Didi. This apparently a rapper, billionaire, and basically never heard of him. Whenever these like tragic stuff happens, because they are tragic, it ruins a lot for, like, I mean, people getting killed in this attack, terrorist attack, or is there like a break in the economy because of this bridge and this boat getting stuck there. Immediately there are different perspectives. Doesn't matter what it is. The discussion, the debate gets polarized immediately. There is one narrative, like you see, like one, what should you call it, one justified narrative. And then there are always some alternative, conspiratorial if you wish. For example, one source that I was listening to quick, just happened to get across it very, very quick, was about, with this bridge in Baltimore, how the boat, apparently boats do also have a black box that basically what it means, a black box is also found in airplanes, which records all conversations between the people in charge and operating the airplane or the boat in this case. And for some reason it was disconnected or out of function just as this incident happened. If that is true, I mean, who knows? It's just funny how it happens, you know. And I think it's funny how a lot of things like this happens. There are always, because the fact is that whether we talk about the war, whether we talk about conflict in Middle East, I was actually watching an interview about that also, or like a debate between one famous guy here in Sweden, is Jew, and then a Muslim, pro-Palestine guy. And they're just sitting there and are basically kind of very like harsh arguing about this conflict, very historical perspective, trying to justify whatever is happening. There is no end to this solution. That, unfortunately, it seems like it. Can you imagine for how long it's going on? Conflict after conflict, specifically this conflict. I'm gonna turn to here. Specifically this conflict, it seems like there is no justifications for, or actually the opposite. they want to justify genocide, while, for example, pro-Israel says that they are not doing a genocide, that they are very particular about going to house to minimize collateral damage, etc., etc., while the pro-Palestine movement is basically justifying the terrorist groups by saying that, but there are all these great forces surrounding Gaza. But then you look historically, who surrounded Israel? I don't remember when it was. Was it sometime in the 60s, when all these Arab countries just started to attack Israel, but they lost? I don't know the whole historical. I'm just saying very, very briefly how different narratives it is and how they all trying to justify their actions. Just like the pro-Israel guy, and also people who are all basically all pro-Israel, trying to justify that. But there are no settlers. They are West Bank. We don't take their house. No. Maybe of course it happened a few times, but they have their own state, Israel, there on the West Bank. But we know that is not the case. We know that they are huge. I have seen interviews or documentaries how big of a neighborhood complex they are building in these mountains. And then this pro-Israel guy says that, but basically we have to take these because these mountain tops or these hills, because they are strategic positions to control, because if Hamas will go up there, they have a good chance of shooting rockets down at us from there, whatever. There are all these different There's no end to it. That's my conclusion. There is no. Unfortunately, it seems like it. I just think it's horrible what's going on. It's disgusting. But what can I do? Just try to observe, try to keep myself as informed as possible, like I think we all should do. But sometimes you really question what is really the point of keeping yourself updated with all this tragic stuff that happens, because in the end you have no idea what's going on. I mean, these wars that happens, let's take the war in East Europe, we have no idea actually why it happens. We don't really know the bad guy here. We may think we really do, because we are informed by our closest people around us. They have this perspective and the media is saying the same, so it sounds kind of right. It's actually, I found myself becoming very, very easily affected by what I watch. And it's nice to have that, I guess, self-awareness, I guess, to be able to observe myself, to know that I'm getting more and more affected by this perspective in this question. Sometimes I am watching some other conflict or some other event that's ongoing, and I'm getting more affected by this particular perspective that I read, listen to. I found it it's kind of a strength. I think everybody should. And then of course, look different sources on the same event, compare, and make up your own mind. But yeah, like for example, this thing that happened this disgusting thing that happened in Moscow. Yet another, just like so sad, yet another unfortunate event that just, yeah. But look at that, for example. There are perspectives saying that, I guess the mainstream media is kind of agreed upon it being this religious extremist group. I don't know, I just try to not mention Then it's very low energy. I feel it feels very bad. And speaking of low energy, I'm gonna mention another thing, but I take that later. Yeah, yeah. So the mainstream media has that view, is this religious extremist Islamist group, and then there are other sources saying that the dictator of Russia himself would be behind this. And but they apparently they are saying, I mean Russia, it's actually is Islamist extremist group. And then you have other sources saying that it's actually United States would behind it. I mean, it sounds like deep intelligence, whatever, which also sounds absolutely insane. Yeah, you know, I just feel very bad talking about it. I don't know even know why I bring that up. It's just very sad. But another thing that's actually very sad is that, yeah, I just had a friend from I can walk a little bit. A friend from Portugal that I stayed with for a little while, and she is now in her 50s, I believe. Yeah, not been. We don't need to talk so much personal. I mean, about her background and everything, but seems to have been having kind of a rough, but not necessarily rough life, but she had a few situations that I know about that is kind of sad that happened to her, like some kind of abuse, for example, in an abusive relationship, domestic relationship, basically. And I mean, and then also having like seems to be have had kind of a great life. Like, okay, she's Brazilian, but then lived many years in like United States, been married, traveled around, and then trying out Portugal, and that's when I met and shared housing for a little brief while, like maybe a couple of months, I think, when I first moved to Porto. This is back in during the pandemic, when there was lockdowns like insane there. But yeah, anyway, then I found my own place, and yeah, I've kept in contact because trying to be supportive, you know, trying to be a friend basically. But then, like, yeah, I noticed that she's just getting. I do know that because I went to see her one time when she had moved to another place in Portugal just for a visit, and just being very, very, very drunk when she and her husband, at the time, it was not her husband, her, yeah, some weird guy basically, very, very creepy. You know, some people you get a, it sounds mean, but some people you get a vibe from which is not, it's like a low energy vibe, negative. And she was very drunk, but anyway, we spent some time there with her and him in this small rural, very awesome place in Portugal, Arouca. I really recommend you to check this place out. Arouca, they have like a very famous natural parks and great hiking tracks, cozy small town, great museum there if you're interested, and they have some cool rock. This sounds kind of geek nerdy, but some kind of cool rock formations that have, like, I can't explain it. We don't need to get into that now, but they have very cool guides you can and tours and museum you can see about this rock formation there. And then of course the most famous is probably that hanging bridge, like like you say, sustained bridge. I don't know. That bridge is, I don't know, if one of the longest in Europe or something like that. It's very, very nice. Oh, okay. So ridiculous guy. He pointed at me. You can go on this side. No, I go here if I want. I don't think it's much of a big deal. But he didn't say it clear either. He just mumbled something. But I guess that's what he meant. But anyway, where were I? Yeah, so that town recommended. But yeah, I went there and yeah, it was a mess. And anyway, yeah, I noticed that she's not that well, you know, basically. And then anyway, been talking a few times here and there, you know, like you do with friends, catching up every now and then. And I know she's on the way back. I think it would be a great thing to Brazil, because it's not working out for her. I think I don't understand why she have not already went back, because I was gonna say Portugal is not doing anything for her, but I think it's kind of the opposite. I know she had jobs, but it always turned out bad, and I always question why, and she always blame, like, oh, the boss was so bad, blah blah. It's always these, I don't know what else we call it other than excuses, but it may be legit excuses. However, fast forward, so it didn't catch up for a while, but yesterday I had a missed call and I called back and just to talk, and oh, she very, very drunk, like very difficult to speak with. And I just think it's strange that she just have a weird way of saying, like, fuck you, Tom, speak with me when she's drunk, and I don't know why. I just brush it off basically. But then yesterday I said we can talk maybe tomorrow or like today, and then she called, and we agreed on that. And then she called back and asked me about, because she said she wanted to write a book or something about her experiences there, and it kind of sounds like she wants me to write it for her. I think it's kind of weird, because she say English is not her first language and so on. And I'm like, this guy's gonna attack me. No, it was coming. It's all right. Yeah, but anyway, I just told him we can talk more. I think you should go back. And then she just snapped and said, like, fuck you, and became very hostile and just hung up. And I just feel like she have behaved like that before, like being very extremely rude. And I know it's because she is she's an alcoholic. That's what it is. And I think they can be just very, very in their own misery, like people with substance abuse. They want to kind of drag you down, and when they don't get what they want from you, they will just behave like miserably and say, oh, fuck you, and blah blah, you know, say a lot of nonsense. But yeah, I don't need to take that. It was just sad how some people turn out, you know, and blaming others and whatever. But anyway, maybe I should go for a swim here, not now, but maybe in the summer. But I don't know, there's some kind of thing going on the other side where they said it's polluted, and then definitely don't want to have a swim here. And I don't even know if it is possible to swim. I mean, you can obviously, but it's probably not the most clean. I don't know, because I did read something about it being polluted. That's why I have this perception of not being clean, but it's probably fine. Where should I go now? I wish there was some sun. Well, today I need to send a message or call. Probably I send a message. It's easier. To my cousin. It's her birthday today. My brother's birthday yesterday. I've been researching kind of extensively recently about like when you start making music and when you start to release music and when you start to put yourself out there for your art or your music and whatever. And it's like with everything that you do, you know, in the beginning. And this is the truth. This is something I'm very aware of. And the number one thing is that nobody care. Just see it as simple as it is, you know. Just see it for what it is. You're putting something out in the world. You're making something. You're putting your time into it and just releasing it out of nowhere. It's not like somebody's just suddenly gonna, wow, let's listen to this guy or let's listen to this girl's music. Or it's not like that. And that is, I'm completely at ease with that because I am only in like I'm not in that stage either, and I never think I will. I don't know that you are doing things just for the recognition. I am doing this for me, you know. This is an experimental project I'm doing now, and with time, like most people who put their time and effort into it, they do get some kind of recognition more eventually down the line, basically. But this guy, he just said it so well that I was listening to one video about how, yeah, you need to give value to somebody to actually wanna hear or wanna follow you for whatever you are doing. That's true. Like for example, if somebody just showed me, like, you know how it is sometimes, think about when you're getting mails, marketing emails, or do you even open them? Basically no, you're not. It's just annoying. But maybe if your friend is really like, oh, this book, you should check this book out that I read, or then it's more then it's more probable. And also when it comes to the music, somebody of your friend, they are saying like, oh, you should really listen to this tune that I found, it sounds great, then it's most likely gonna happen. But just some random person out of the blue, listen to this or watch this or buy this, or it just doesn't happen. I think what I'm trying to say is that whoever, like myself or anybody else, creating something, just don't throw it out there and expect like a like a big sensation, because that's not how it is. In this way, it's good and bad, because with internet it's amazing. We have, he talked about this also, we have basically the world. Oh, it's so many squirrels, two at least, in that tree over there. Yeah, we basically have the world and access to the world and so much information, which is so amazing. It's great in like the way we can connect, the way we can communicate, because that's what internet is all about. It's about communication. I see two of them there. Yeah, it's about communication. That's what internet and information, of course, content. But it's also a little bit different compared to, like, if you started out before. Think about big bands from, like, let's say from, it doesn't need to be that back in the 60s, but it can be even earlier, you know, or later. If they were good and got gigs and had live shows and got some publicity in media because of that, they were good to go, more or less. You know, imagine they made a record, they managed to get some shows, people liked them, and they went for the other show, and they told their friends about that. They told their friends about this show also. It seems like it was less. It sounds wrong to say competition to be a creative person then. And then you managed to get publicity. But of course, there was this scarcity in means of publicity there also, because the media and the news and the television from that time was also limited in what they could show in terms of new creative acts or artists, if you wish. Now it's just flooded, you know. I read an article about some artist felt so, or talked about, yeah, I think I mentioned this earlier, the real winners of social media and content on social media, because it's free for the owners. We the users are the producers and the content creators, and that's basically keeping people there longer for ad money. People put ad money in there that goes directly to the owners, and that's the way it is with that. That's just the way it is with that. So this way is like there's so much there. I don't know how many, what should I say, how many hours of music uploaded to these giant streaming